Maybe I saw was Tenet.
Oh God!
And then Sonic before that.
Well, that was a movie.
Welcome back.
Yes,
welcome
yes.
back to the show. It has. So, hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon. This is Eric, and we just saw Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage. Carnage and Friends. What was it called? I didn't rewatch the first Venom.
No, I mean
in preparation for this because I felt like I remembered everything that was necessary, and as far as plot goes, I did. I wasn't prepared for the tone. I really wasn't. I think we described the first Venom when we watched it as being drastically different scene to scene, where in some scenes it was a genuinely good movie, and then the next scene it was so bad it was good.
Yeah,
but
right.
regardless of what it was moment to moment, it was always entertaining. This threw the good parts out and just went with all the bad stuff. So I can't say that this movie wasn't entertaining, because it was, but it you can't say it's good. It wasn't good.
I mean, some of the Venom stuff was really funny, like his attitude and stuff. I mean, it works really well.
But still, great chemistry between Tom Hardy and himself.
Yeah, I just don't picture Tom Hardy being the character that he is, though. I still have that problem seeing, and he also looks dirty and disheveled the whole time, like greasy hair. I don't know what that's all about.
I get that's what he's going for. With he's supposed to be this kind of like meek little Weasley guy, but ever since Hardy played Bronson and then Bane, he's been unable to get back down to what he was before, which was kind of this skinny guy. I don't know if that's choice or if he just is unable to, but he stayed bulked up. And he doesn't need to be bulked up to be Eddie Brock for Venom, even though the character in the show and the comics was bulky. They're not playing it like that version of the character, so if you're going to make his personality small, make him small to match.
Yeah, it doesn't fit at all, because he's still huge. He's jacked.
he's a big guy.
He's playing like some Weasley, like guy low in his confidence, and like it's Tom Hardy. He just has greasy hair. Like.
Right. In case you don't know the plot of this movie, which it doesn't really matter, but so the basic idea is it kind of picks up a little bit after the first one, where Venom and Eddie are fighting back and forth between trying to be good, but Venom wanting to eat people, which is not good. And so they're just seeing that same struggle happening a few months down the line, and then Carnage gets thrown into the mix. You've got a much stronger symbiote. Again, that's the same thing as the first one. You've got a much stronger symbiote going up against Venom, and so it's kind of like a repeat of the first one, but what surprised me was Cletus Cassidy backstory was very much present as like the center of the plot almost in this. And it took up a decent amount of this 90-minute runtime. It's a very short movie, especially for this genre, and we spent a lot of time talking about a character that the movie didn't seem to care about, other than the fact that we talked about him.
Right. He just seemed to be there to be Carnage. Actually, I felt that way about a lot of the characters. They were just there so they could do something to continue the story.
Right.
Could have made us care about some of the side characters more. I mean, like Lily Nothing. Right. You don't care about anybody but Tom Hardy and Venom.
And they brought back the love interest from the first one, but she was solely there to fulfill a need in the plot. Every character that is in this is a need. Like, you've got this cop character, and he's solely there because apparently he's got connections to people in the plot and stuff, so he's only there because of that. Venom's obviously the main character, and then are there any other characters?
The clerk lady at the store.
But she I mean, served a purpose too.
Yeah, exactly,
there are no superfluous characters. There's no time wasted at all.
Some of the writing was super bad.
Oh, all of the writing was super bad.
That's true.
But it was entertaining at times because the dialogue between Eddie and Venom is still fantastic. That's still the thing. That's still the thing that brings you back and makes you laugh, because it's either intentionally funny or so stupid you just roll your eyes and chuckle. There was many moments in this movie that I just threw my hands up in the air. I'm like, what the hell is happening? This makes no fucking sense. Like, at one point, this isn't really a spoiler, but at one point Carnage grabs a laptop. Well, he's in Cletus Cassidy form, and he talks to Carnage and says, hey, you got any of them internets? And the Carnage just sticks his fingers into the ports of the computer, and they have access to like the police files all of a sudden.
I know. I was dying on the inside when I saw that.
What? Like, what?
That's not how that works.
And that's kind of just this movie. It's like, if there is a shortcut to take, it was taken. Every opportunity to make the movie shorter was taken because they didn't care about the needless stuff. They didn't care about anything. Every moment of this movie is rushed. Like, normally in superhero movies, there's like, oh, we're gonna have the villain come about. We're gonna have the superhero being, I know Venom's not a superhero, but the main character is off doing one thing. They meet by chance. They have a fight. The bad guy beats up the good guy. He goes, oh no, he thinks about it for a while, and then they come back and they fight again a second time, and then he wins. Screw all that. I know it's formulaic. I wasn't asking them to do it, but they fought once, and it was at the end of the movie because there wasn't enough plot else to do in the movie. It's intentionally bad in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They took notes from the first one. Everybody's favorite parts about the first one was the bad parts. Like, I enjoy the first one. I own it on DVD. Right. They just went full into that ham and cut out the rest, and I guess that's why it was so short, was they're like, who cares? Who cares? So in case you don't know, they brought in Screech to be his love interest, which is obviously something that doesn't work together because sound is the biggest weakness of Venom and all of the symbiotes. And it was just jarring to have a mutant in with the rest of these characters when we've had no other mention this entire time of any other superheroes or supervillains or anything. As far as we knew up until this point, it was disconnected from everything else. And so it was just weird to have her there. Like, why? And the cops didn't even seem to know because they just had a cop sit in the back of a police van with her. Right. And so I'm like, oh, well, she mentioned the mutation is mutating further. So, okay, she didn't have this power. Yet they've got a flashback later when she's a little kid, because on Cletus Cassidy's first day at this correctional facility, she saves him by screeching at people. Yeah. So I'm like, they should know about this.
Wait, you have that power?
Yeah, we're just gonna put you in a van with a cop, and then when it goes bad, we'll be shocked? Why?
One cop. I guess, like, the love story was there to give him a purpose, Cletus a purpose, but, like, it was
to give him humanity, but it never worked because the film didn't care enough about it.
Right, exactly.
It added in this subplot about him. There was more plot about Cletus Cassidy than there was about Eddie Brock. The movie seemed, in written format, to care more about this character than the movie itself did. There was multiple times where I was like, on paper, this was a really good scene. Right. They executed it awfully. Like, there's this scene, this is a small spoiler, so if you care, whatever, but it's not that important. Cletus Cassidy goes back and saves his girlfriend from this, wherever the hell she is, government facility, and he's now Carnage, and it's like one of his first times being Carnage, and so they've got her in this soundproof room because her superpower is supersonicness, and so she's only able to communicate through a keyboard, so she says, screw you, and then the doctor's like, ha ha ha, you're not my type, which was a weird thing to say, but anyway, and then she goes, where is Cletus Cassidy? And then it types up, I'm right here, and then it shows him. How I described that and how that's on paper sounds like that could be a cool scene. Like, oh shit, he's right there.
No.
It was really lame in the movie. Really, really lame. And I'm like, how did you take that great idea on paper? Like, because I was just sitting there going like, how did they mess this up so bad? Because it sounds really cool when you just talk about it.
I want to know what they were thinking casting Woody Harrelson. Like, why?
Yes, okay.
Why?
Yes.
I don't know. I just don't understand it. He's not a great actor.
And you're not a fan of the comics, and you still say that.
Yeah.
As a fan of the comics, let me show you something.
Yeah, I've always just liked how Carnage looked. I don't know anything about his backstory or anything.
Okay, so my first introduction to Carnage was in the Spider-Man video game. This is how he sounds and acts, though.
Your real love.
He's only harmony?
Yes, that part is.
Okay.
Hear his voice and notice his mannerisms.
Yeah.
He's maniacal. He talks like this. He's laughing. He's insane. That was not present in this version of Carnage at all. It was a red Venom. It was actually a red version of the bad guy from the last one, Riot or whoever that was. Which I don't know anything about Riot, so I couldn't complain about that just being a lifeless, personality-less symbiote. But it was the same thing in this. So not only was Woody Harrelson a terrible casting because he's not the right type of crazy. He's very much the sit there and go like, and you type crazy. You needed somebody over the top to match the feel of this movie, first of
Right.
all, and to match the right personality. Like, I've talked before, years ago, they had a fan casting, a rumor that Jim Carrey was going to be Carnage in the first Venom movie, and I said, perfect casting.
Right.
He can do that maniacal. He doesn't have the high-pitched voice, so maybe you'd want somebody else, but he can put on a voice like that.
Yeah.
He can jump around like a monkey like he did in that, and that's what Carnage is. Woody Harrelson, one, too low-key. He's weird, but he's not crazy enough. He's just a much more subdued serial killer type. This guy's supposed to be like the kind of redneck crazy guy that would come at you with like a straight razor and just go crazy. That's not how he's portrayed in the movie. And then secondly, Carnage is just as crazy, if not more. And in this, Carnage was just... Well, first of all, he had the deep voice because every symbiote in these movies is just Venom. Not every symbiote's supposed to have that deep, booming voice. That's just what Venom's voice happened to be. And then Carnage wasn't Carnage. It wasn't at all. They didn't even try to be Carnage. Like, I mean, he looked vaguely like him, but it wasn't Carnage. No, it was just awful casting, which I've been saying. I mean, like, I tried to give Woody Harrelson the benefit of the doubt because he's a good actor. He can do stuff, like, outside of his range maybe every once in a while. And I was like, like, I hate it on paper, but you know what? Maybe it'll turn out better. Right. It didn't. It was bad. It didn't. No, nothing about it worked. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they're doing Venom right. Like, I don't know, like, comics.
Venom, they're doing a certain version of him right. It may or may not be the most popular. Once again, if you go to that same video game, how he acts in that video game is perfect for this. In some versions of the comic, he's much darker and more serious. They're going with the light, fun version of him, which is, once again, what I was first introduced to him with. Yeah. So I like it. Some people don't, but it is a valid version of Venom.
I feel like his funny tone fits these movies pretty well.
I love it. I do.
Weird if he was, like, extremely dark and it was, like, very serious.
It wouldn't work.
Watch that first step.
The voice, yeah.
And right away, that's a pun. Throws him down the stairs and says, watch the first step, it's a doozy. It's like, yeah.
Is it Spider-Man say tee-hee-hee?
No, it's Venom doing it. Yeah. So it is a good match to the certain version of Venom, but I saw a lot of people complain about it because in like the original version, he was darker, but I like this version of him. I enjoy this version of Venom. It works for this movie. It works for the style of the movie, which, like I said, isn't taking itself seriously. It's being bad on purpose. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as the first one. I wouldn't say it disappointed me in any way, though. It was just bad, but it's still entertaining. I don't know that I'd be any more likely to watch this one than the first one, though.
I'll probably never see this again.
Yeah, no. I might not buy this one either, like I bought the first one. So that's what we had to think, spoiler-free. We're going to get into spoilers now, so if you don't want anything spoiled, which the only thing that's really worth spoiling or caring about as far as spoilers go is the post-credit scene, which we will get into last, and we'll give a second warning before we get into that. Everything else, I wouldn't be worried about, but just in case you're really worried, click off the video. Just make sure to give it a like and share it, and subscribe if you're new here. So thanks, bye. So, spoilers. Character arc of Cletus Cassidy in this movie was, they were trying, it seemed on paper, to give him a streak of humanity. A stripe of humanity in his dark personality, which is different. When it comes to Cletus Cassidy, the whole point of Cletus Cassidy's character was he was completely without any sort of, morals or any sort of conscience, because the original Venom, he started as a bad guy, but his conscience is what brought him around to being good. He became a hero over time because of conscience. That's what separated him from a symbiote getting onto a literal serial killer, a maniac who was already killing people before he was given a superpower, and so now you gave superpowers to a serial killer maniac. How's that gonna go? This didn't, that was what the plot was, but it was attempting, at first, to give him a moral arc. It gave him reasons to be the way he was. Like, he brought up the abuse that he withstood in his family, and then the love interest and all of that, but then it didn't care about any of it, because at the end he brings it up again, tears in his eyes. He's looking at Eddie and he's like, you weren't listening, like, I just wanted to have you as a friend. And then Venom goes, fuck you, and eats his head, and you're like, what the fuck?
He did do that.
Like, I didn't particularly like the character arc, but at least it was something.
Yeah.
And then you just said, nope.
Yeah, you literally just threw it out. Like, you're like, if you did care about this, you shouldn't. Here, see it.
And they only really dedicated about 30 minutes to his arc.
Right.
But like I said, one, it's a 90-minute movie. And two, that's more than twice as much time as anybody else in this movie.
Yeah.
So you gave more of an effort, you gave more screen time, you gave more care into making him a relatable or interesting character, and then said, nope, oopsies, this was all for a gag, apparently.
Almost all the movies like that. Like when Venom actually leaves Eddie and is just bouncing around the city, that just felt so alright, just so we can extend the movie. And then how he came back and decided was just another
Right, because I will say, so it felt like the story was conflicted because they wanted to have an arc that simultaneously repaired his relationship, Eddie's relationship with Venom, and Eddie's relationship with blonde girl. I don't know or care about her name.
Sarah?
Sarah?
We're going with Sarah.
Sure, Sarah. And so you had to have them have another fight, but it was a very similar fight to the first movie between Eddie and Venom, so it was kind of just a repeat, which is kind of why it was boring. And so you have this happening again, but it's the same situation of Eddie thinking he's better off without Venom, and Venom thinking he's better off without Eddie, which we already went over in the first movie, but we're doing it again so that we can have that same thing happen where he's talking to her and Venom at the same time, apologizing to both of them about the same thing at the same time, and be forgiven by both of them at the same time. Which, sure, once again, that's not a bad idea on paper. It's a bit repetitive, but it's not bad. But then the movie itself didn't seem interested with it, because based on the ending of the movie, that went nowhere and meant nothing between him and Sarah, because the ending has her and Dan leaving as if this is their final goodbye and we're never going to see them in any future Venom movies.
Right.
So why did we do that? Why did we need to repair the relationship between him and her? Her entire reason for being in this movie had nothing to do with their relationship. It had everything to do with her getting him out of police custody. That was the only reason she was in this movie. The only reason. And also because she was at the wedding and he needed to save her. But she wasn't there to be an emotional romantic interest anymore. They completely said, yeah, that's a thing, but we don't care.
Right.
It was a waste of a character. It was. Because if you can take her out of the movie and have nothing else change, you know it's a pointless character, because you could have easily had the Asian lady bring the symbiote to the police station, and nothing else in the movie would have changed. Also, you had her get kidnapped so he would go to the wedding, and you pointed out as we were watching the movie, he is actively looking for Carnage. Carnage doesn't need to have a hostage to bring him there. He was going there anyway.
He was looking for him, that's his goal. He was like, I knew where you're going to be, I'm going to go stop him.
Take her out of the movie and nothing changes.
Yeah.
Honestly, Dan had more of an impact on the movie
I was going to say,
he did.
So yeah, Dan actually had a couple things he did.
He had the fire moment, which once again isn't huge because you can rewrite the action scene however you want. It doesn't matter. But he at least had an impact on a scene.
Yeah.
He did.
I thought he did little. No, what did he say?
He was like, I actually think we would have done better without him.
He's more of a nuisance than anything.
Venom is still great. I still loved Venom and Eddie in this. They're a fantastic duo. I know it's the same actor, but that's the great thing that you can say about Tom Hardy is it feels like two different characters very strongly. It almost feels like two different actors, even though if Eddie is getting frustrated about something, he starts talking like Venom.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you're the same voice. But I don't know. It wasn't like, I mean, obviously, it's not a good movie. It's so bad it's entertaining, but at the same time, it's not like, I wouldn't rate this a 2. I would rate it a 5.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere in the middle.
It's not like you see the boom mic. It's not like people are obviously forgetting their lines or reading them off of scripts. It's just the dialogue is stupid. The plot doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. It's funny, though. And it is entertaining in its own way. But the other one, I think I gave the other one like a 6 or something because I did genuinely enjoy it more than I didn't. I don't think I'm ready to give this a 6. I would give it a 5, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be less than the other one. I think we both gave it around a 6 because I feel the same way. It's like there's some really funny parts. Now they're intensely bad. The first time I feel like
I think it was partially intentionally bad. Partially,
yeah. Because like it's hard.
There's no way you could have done that hallway scene in the first one. There's no way you could have done that lobster scene without
true.
knowing you were making something
True.
bad.
Okay, true, yeah.
But I will say, just right there, 2 memorable moments from the first one. And then, of course, the most memorable moment to me was with the jump pussy part in the first one. There was nothing, like, I'm already struggling to remember, like, quotes and funny moments from this one. Like, there's the fuck you bites his head, but that wasn't funny in a good way. That was just like, oh my god, why did we do that? We wasted all the runtime on this character arc that doesn't matter. I can't think of like a single moment in this movie that I can like quote after seeing it. Like, cause there was the part where he's at the rave or whatever, and that was kind of funny, but it was funny in concept more than actual reality. I don't remember anything he said other than like, everybody should be themselves and love who they want to love, and we should all live on the rock together.
Okay, now that I'm thinking of it a little more, it was the one guy goes, woo, it's thank you, woo guy. The one guy, right?
Thank you, the one guy. I love you. I love you too. Like, and that's fine.
But it took me a couple minutes. I had to start really thinking about that scene. It wasn't.
And that's still just one moment. Like, it's not comparable to the first one as far as being memorable or quotable. The first one had great lines. This was kind of just like, there was no a turd in the wind moment in this movie. Like, there was no quote like that. There was funny situations, like them arguing in the bathroom stall. That was fun. That was fine. But there was nothing that, like, will bring me back to this movie and be like, haha, remember that one scene? We need to watch that again. Like, what is a funny quote in this movie? I'm leaving this unedited. It's going to show how long it takes us to come up with one.
There will be carnage.
No, it's not funny. It's just bad.
Bad isn't always funny. Yeah, dude. What line is there? There's the
There's gotta be one. I'm like, there's gotta be. Oh, okay. The funniest part in the whole movie was they've built up that the 2 weaknesses of symbiotes are fire and sound. And then they've made a couple jokes about it, like fire and sound. What is that, a band? But then you've got Dan coming at the church, and he goes, "Fire and sound, bitch! Except this is just fire. There's no sound." That was the funniest part. That's the funniest part.
That's true. That's it.
Right, we came up with one. We came up with one.
And that was his whole reason to exist. Was that moment. Yeah. We talked about the dialogue being bad. It was in the wedding. Cletus is saying something, and then he immediately goes, "All right, let's go." So we both looked at it like, what?
Yeah, so they're getting married, which, by the way, he said he wanted 3 witnesses at the wedding.
Right.
Eddie, Venom, and the cop. And then they start the wedding without Eddie and Venom. It's like, what? And then the priest starts to do his thing, and he says, "Stop. Gifts first."
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
And then he goes, "Well, actually, no." And he said, "No, shut up, we're doing it." And then he hands her, or not, doesn't even hand her. He says, "The cop that we already showed on screen, he's on screen.
Let's go."
And then, all right, now back to the vows. And it was such bad writing.
Yeah, it was.
Because it was literally, the reason they had that line in there was to show that the cop was there.
Yeah.
But they had literally just showed that the cop was there less than 5 seconds earlier. It's just like, maybe the writing didn't have that as bad, but how it was edited together was awful.
You think there's going to be this whole dialogue, she has something for him, and it's only a second, and then
he just goes,
right back to
"I've got the thing you want," and she goes, "The cop?" And he goes, "Yeah." All right, back to the thing. Yeah, that was the whole dialogue.
It was a very hard.
And his awful little voice. Woody Harrelson was, I don't want to say he was bad, but he was so miscast.
Yeah.
So painfully miscast. Like, I don't want to keep harping on it, but Jim Carrey was right there, goddammit. So, yeah, I would still recommend it to anybody who liked the first one, because it's entertaining. It's worth the night out or whatever. It's not as good or as bad as the first one was.
Right.
Because the first one, there's no lobster scene in this.
No.
There's no hallway scene. There's nothing like that in this. It's never actually good, and it's never so bad you're losing your mind, other than a couple of roll your eye moments. Which is more in the execution stuff, like we were just talking about, the wedding scene. Like, that was just like, what? Or the eating. Anyway,
it literally undoes everything. It just it doesn't undo it. It just gets rid of it so quickly, like it didn't matter.
Yeah. Like, why did we put half an hour into this character if
Yeah.
we're just gonna do it like that? Let's just get into that final big spoiler, though. So if you are sensitive to spoilers, big ones, click off. But yeah, so the most obvious thing that everybody saw coming, they're connecting Venom to the MCU. They're doing it slightly faster than I expected, though, because I was expecting him to come in, since they hadn't said anything yet, and they were talking about releasing this movie after next Spider-Man. I was thinking that he was going to come in a little bit later, but now I'm thinking he's got to be in the Sinister Six, right?
Yeah, is that something they're doing?
So yeah, that's what, like, so in the next Spider-Man, you saw Doc Ock in the trailer.
Yeah.
There's also the Green Goblin, and you saw in a different version of the trailer, I think that's Lizard. And so the Sinister Six is all of those people plus some, and Venom is in one of the versions of it. And I was like, that doesn't seem like something they would do, because this version of Venom isn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
But how he reacted to seeing him on TV, they've decided at this point that they're going to be, oh, that was another good line, the lethal protector. That was funny, because it kept coming back and it got funnier every time they did it, because it was like, the first time they brought it up, he was like, we should be the lethal protector, and he's like, well, it's not the 80s, Venom. And then he brings it up a second time in the middle of the fight, like, lethal protector. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, all right, we're gonna be the lethal protector, I need a mask and a cape. And like, I think you got that covered. But he seems to think, at least this is how I took it, I'm reading into it a little bit, but it seemed to me that he thought Spider-Man was a bad guy, because that's how they were talking about him on TV.
Yeah.
So he might join in with the other bad guys, thinking that Spider-Man is a bad guy.
Because I was wondering that too, because when they introduced him, I'm like, but Venom in the Spider-Man world is the bad guy, and from
At first, yeah.
from the movies we're watching, he's more of an anti-hero type of thing,
Right.
Kind of. So you might be right about that, because he was in.
I don't know
like,
how else they could swing that.
Because he licked the screen like because every time he sees a bad guy, he gets hungry. He's like, oh, bad guy, and he licked the screen like he was ready to go. Yeah.
And the last scene of the real movie before they went to the post-credit scene was them on the beach, and he was talking about like, oh, we're going to. Once again, I'm reading into it a little bit, but I thought he was kind of like saying like, I'm going to let you start eating people a little bit more. Anyway, yeah, that's what we had to think. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. Also, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Fuck Connor.
Fuck him.